On today's show, it is a little game of what's more likely. We'll talk about Matt Duchene in Dallas versus Filip Forsberg in Nashville, the best up-and-coming youth performance, and whether the Predators will get off to a hot or cold start. We'll talk about it today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start out with a special hello to our loyal Locked On Pred heads, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys. We appreciate the support you give us week after week. I'm Nick Morgan. I am a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at InsideThePreds.com.
So today, Ann and I are going to play a little game of what's more likely. We're going to take a couple of different scenarios surrounding the Preds and maybe some former Preds. Oof. We're going to debate what is more likely to happen. Like, what possible scenario do we think is more likely? So, Ann, let's start off with a story that I think captivated a lot of Predators faithful. You probably had an opinion on it one way or another. Matt Duchene, of course, no longer in Nashville. He is a member of the Dallas Stars, a very good team. Mm-hmm. So that got us thinking, Ann, what is more likely next season? Matt Duchene has more points or Filip Forsberg has more points?
Yeah, this is one that is a painful one to look at. You know, Matt Duchene joining Dallas on a 1-year deal. Dallas, of course, is in a very different place than the Nashville Predators. So there's a lot of factors that I feel like you have to weigh in with when you're debating what's more likely, Duchene or Forsberg, collecting more points. Of course, like I said, Duchene's on a team that's interested in making a deep playoff run. This is a team that's got Rupe Hintz. It's got Jason Robertson. It's got Joe Pavelski. It's got Wyatt Johnston. So this is a team that has all of the pieces, in place to do something like that. You add Matt Duchene into the mix. What does that mean for him? Speculation is he's going to be playing perhaps with Wyatt Johnston, which, would be kind of an interesting duo. Is he going to play center? Is he going to play wing? Not 100% sure on how that's going to all kind of land. So there's a ton of potential, I think, for Matt Duchene to have a very successful season. I don't know if it's the same situation with Filip Forsberg necessarily.
Okay, but here's so what's your pick?
My pick, believe it or not, after saying what I just said, I'm actually leaning towards Filip Forsberg. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Barry Trotz has been very upfront when he's talking about where the Predators are. They're not where Dallas is. They're going to need to, take a step back before they take a couple steps forward. And I think that that's probably true across the board. But I don't think the Predators can afford to do that with Filip Forsberg. I think everything is going to be structured so that Filip Forsberg is successful offensively. Because if you think about it, he is now the offensive guy. Mm-hmm. So while they may make decisions and some adjustments that are maybe going to mean some other players maybe take a step back or don't have quite the same season, I don't think the Predators are going to be willing to make decisions that sacrifice what Filip Forsberg can do. So for me, even though I think Matt Duchene's team is going to see more success, I think Filip Forsberg may see more minutes. And I think the Predators are going to structure their lineup so that he is set up for the most success of any of the players.
That's, they've certainly been trying to set that up, though, for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is now the Predators are taking this big step back and they don't have as many offensive weapons than they had in 2022. Is Filip Forsberg going to be that same type of player? And yeah, Andrew Brunette is here. who's a better offensive style, and maybe he can find a way that, Filip Forsberg kind of goes back to being an 80-point player. To me, the more intriguing thing is how Dallas is going to use Matt Duchene, because this is a player who can still score, who can still do a lot of things on the offensive side of the ice really well. And look at the weapons he's going to be there with. Guys like, Wyatt Johnston, who had a very good first season. Jason Robertson, the first 100-point scorer in franchise history. And that franchise has been around a very long time. Look at all, guys like, still have Jamie Benn, still have Tyler Seguin, got guys like Rupe Hintz who had some big scoring seasons, Miro Heiskanen on the blue line.
Yes.
Matt Duchene in the right situation. This is somebody that can take advantage of the weapons. And, maybe he's not a first line guy in Dallas or anything, but, if Dallas winds up becoming like Colorado from 2 seasons ago,
and they could
remember all the depth scoring that was on Colorado back then. I mean, their second line center, Nazem Kadri, had 85 points. So it's also not out of the question for Matt Duchene to get to 80 points either, Ann.
Well, and I also, you have to factor in where Matt Duchene is at. We've talked about this before. When Matt Duchene is in a prove-it position, he steps up. And so I do think he's going to be very successful in Dallas. I think this is going to be a season where Matt Duchene really makes a statement. He's going to want to make a statement about like, hey, you bought me out. This is what you're missing. And so I think that you're going to see success from Duchene. I just think the team in general in Nashville is going to be centered around Filip Forsberg. Whereas in Dallas, when you've got Rupe Hintz and Robertson and all these other players, you don't need to center your offense around Matt Duchene. He's going to be a depth piece. He is going to be a scorer for them. He is going to be set up for a lot of offensive success. I just think the Predators are going to have to structure so much of their offense around Filip Forsberg as they develop some of these younger offensive players as well. So for me, I think Forsberg is going to be set up for success, perhaps a little bit better than Duchene.
Yeah. Fair point.
It's going to be really interesting to watch.
To me, Ann, I'm going to have to go Duchene.
Oh, yeah.
I think Duchene's going to have more, and I don't think that's going to be the norm moving forward. But this year in particular, the Preds, I don't think have a lot of options around them. And I think, Matt Duchene's going to take advantage of a good situation in Dallas. So, yeah, I got Matt Duchene.
All right. It's going to be a fun one to watch unfold.
Cannot wait to see the internet in 9 months if that's indeed what happens.
You're right.
All right. So there's a lot of young players on the Predators roster. We referenced some of that when talking about Filip Forsberg earlier and whether or not he can reach his scoring potential. Speaking of potential, which one of those young forwards do we think is going to have the best season for the Nashville Predators? We're going to debate that in just a second. But first, I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens and AG1. Maybe you're like me. You want to be healthy. You want to eat well, but it's always easier said than done, right? Well, that's not the case with AG1. Just one delicious scoop of AG1 in a glass of water every day, and you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients that supports your gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, pretty much everything your body needs to be healthy. It can be hard and expensive to buy all of those different supplements and vitamins and protein powders, not to mention how hard it can be on your stomach. Well, AG1 costs you less than $3 a day. And you're investing you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance, and it's cheaper than your daily cold brew habit. More important, cheaper than buying all of that separately yourself. So reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit drinkag1.com/NHL network. Again, that is drinkag1.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, Ann, we are playing a little game of what's more likely, going through a few scenarios for the Nashville Predators next year. Here's another interesting one. We have a lot of young players on the Predators roster next year. There's 4 in particular that fans really have circled. Cody Glass.
Yep.
Luke Evangelista. Phil Tomasino. Tommy Novak. Of those 4, who is more likely to have the best season?
This is such a great question. And I feel like each one of these players could be their own podcast when you're looking at like who's going to have a breakout season. For me, each one of them has something that you kind of have to weigh in. So when I think about Phil Tomasino, we saw what he was able to do a couple seasons ago playing, 4th line minutes. This is a young player who could contribute. This season came up, he played 31 games. We saw a lot from him on the power play. For me, where's his 5-on-5 game going to be? Like, is he going to be able to contribute offensively 5-on-5? So that's one of the little like stick pin in it for me for Tomasino. Luke Evangelista came out of nowhere. This is a player that they literally thought was going to be in Nashville for a weekend. They brought him up for a weekend, y'all. And he just decided, no, I'm here and I'm gonna stick around. I'm going to hang around. Had a great season, as players were dropping like flies. Evangelista got himself some top line minutes and really made the most of that opportunity. I think he's probably one of the most exciting things that happened last season for the Nashville Predators.
Of course, yeah.
Just came out of nowhere and really showed, look, my game is NHL ready. Of course, you look at Tommy Novak, what he did last season coming out of nowhere. And really, he ended up being the 3rd leading goal scorer, 4th leading goal scorer for the team, down the stretch. And then Cody Glass, this is Cody Glass's year, y'all. We saw what he did last year. So there are aspects of each of these 4 players that I think set them up for success next season. But if it comes down to who is more likely to have the best breakout season, it's not an easy pick for me, but I'm actually going to go with Cody Glass. I think he's the sure thing, as Vivian Ward says in Pretty Woman. I'm a sure thing. Yeah. It's so tough.
Cody Glass to me is almost the safe pick here.
He is the safe pick.
Because I do think he's the guy that, had the biggest NHL contributions last year. Had, the most experience. He seems to be the guy that the Predators are kind of hoping is their number 1 center. If he can kind of, stick around and be that and have Ryan O'Reilly be sort of that veteran depth guy right behind him. I'm intrigued at what Luke Evangelista can do.
Yes.
Because what he showed, that it's different than Glass or Tomasino. I think Tomasino is going to have a big year too. To me, Evangelista is more of that sort of get people out of your seats type of player that Barry Trotz, talked about in the offseason, like that the type of player he wanted the Preds to have. The way he drives to the net, the way he finishes, the quality of his shot. That's a little bit of a different element than maybe, the other 3 guys we're talking about. The biggest question mark is whether he's going to make the team out of camp. We think he should. We think the Predators should, not reserve a spot for him, but, give him a chance to absolutely win it without, having to worry about veterans in front of him or, waiver options and all of that. But if he does and he becomes like a regular top 6 player, this to me is a guy that can go off and have an absolute breakthrough rookie season, still eligible for the Calder Trophy. This to me is going to be like maybe the boom or bust pick.
Yeah. And I can see where Evangelista could definitely be the guy who has that breakout season. I think they're probably going to err on the side of, and again, he's got to earn his spot, but I think the Predators may err on the side of giving him more opportunities. He is the most Forsberg-esque, I think, of the four that we're talking about, as far as high hockey IQ, as far as shooting, as far as, just the way he thinks the game offensively. My dark horse is Tommy Novak. Now, I don't think Tommy Novak's going to see top line minutes when you have a healthy roster all back together. But what I think Tommy Novak can do, especially with the right line mates, like you saw what he did with Evangelista and Sherwood, kind of down the stretch for the Nashville Predators. Don't know that he's going to end up on the same line as Luke Evangelista, like we're talking about. But if he's on a line, even like a third line with players like Kiefer Sherwood or, whoever he's with, this is a guy who can produce under almost any circumstance. So for me, he's my kind of, it could surprise everyone because, I think Novak knocked everybody's socks off last season. I think that might be just who he is. And I don't know that it's going to matter so much where he falls in the lineup as much as it will matter, chemistry with his line mates and giving him that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think Tommy Novak is kind of the wild card because everybody looked at his last season. I was like, yeah, there's some good numbers there. Is that sort of the norm? So I think that feels like a question that everybody is still trying to figure out, what's the next step.
Mm-hmm. What does Phil Tomasino have to do to surprise you?
To surprise me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would like to see more of a goal scoring touch.
Yeah.
From him. We know he's got the pass. We know he can create plays for other people. To me, I would love to see, I would love to see him kind of be able to go and step up and maybe create some plays for himself.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to see.
Yeah.
In just a second, with all the changes the Nashville Predators have made this offseason, a lot of people are wondering what is the outcome for next season going to be. We're going to dive into that in just a second, but first want to remind everybody that Locked On Predators is your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, any of that good stuff. All you have to do is search Locked On Predators podcast in whatever platform you use and hit that subscribe button so you'll always know when we have new episodes out for you. We're also on YouTube, so hit that subscribe button there as well. All right, Ann, with all the changes the Nashville Predators have made this offseason, let's talk about their performance for next season. We've talked about the wild schedule.
Yes.
In October. A lot of big names on there. So what's more likely to happen? The Predators succumb to the pressure and start out cold, or the Predators surprise people and get off to a hot start?
I can tell you which one we all want it to be. So yes. you look at the October schedule. These are the teams that the Predators are going to face out of the gate. You're looking at teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, Edmonton, Seattle, Boston, Toronto, playoff teams. And then you've got a couple teams like Vancouver and you've got San Jose as well. So what is more likely? Are the Predators going to surprise everybody and maybe upset some of these contender teams from last season? Or are they going to struggle to get any wins at all? For me, this all comes down to one word, and that word for me is composure. I don't necessarily think it has as much to do with lineup decisions. I don't know that it has as much to do with chemistry or individual player performances right out of the gate. I think it has to do with composure. Because when you look at what happened at the end of last season, the Nashville Predators certainly did not have the best lineup in many of their matchups down the stretch. They were playing all of these young players, veterans were out, but this team played with so much composure at the end of the season. Now, can they come back with that? This is going to be a different team. You've added Ryan O'Reilly. You've added Gustav Nyquist. You have added Luke Shen. You've added some pieces. You've also taken away some big pieces. Ryan Johansen, Matt Duchene. So it's a different looking team. For me, the question is, can these young players come in and kick off this season, kick off this new chapter under the pressure of, hey, we've got to try to make a name for ourselves. We've got to try to be these young players that are developing in the league. Can they do all of that with composure? If they can, I can see them upsetting one or two of these teams.
Yeah.
A lot of it too comes down to UC Saros.
That's what I thought your one word was going to be, was UC.
UC.
Yeah. I look at the schedule, and I think maybe the one thing that would give you some hope is that, some of these big name teams are also kind of we're kind of figuring ourselves out right now, period. We mentioned the Boston Bruins. That is going to be a very different looking team than the one last year. The Tampa Bay Lightning also in a little bit of a transitional period as well. They got a lot of their core, obviously. They've sort of been shuffling their depth here and there. If the Predators, I can see the Predators maybe best case scenario, taking advantage, coming out of the gate strong. You got a lot of motivated young players.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them winning, let's say like 6 out of the 9 games to start the season.
Okay, I like your optimism.
Yeah, and that's again very, very high end.
Right.
Yeah, like very, very high end, case right there. But I mean, that's you would be happy with that if you're a Nashville Predators fan. Now, it could go the other way, and we could see one of those like notorious UC Saros slow starts.
Oh gosh.
There could be some shuffling. Maybe some people that we thought were going to start in Nashville start in Milwaukee because waivers and roster, layups and all that good stuff. It could go the other way. It's interesting because the Predators, to me, and the first month of the season seems like it can almost be an extension of preseason for the Nashville Predators, because it seems like Andrew Brunette and Barry Trotz are not going to be in a huge rush to really like get their roster together out of the gate. Like this may be, kind of a trial and error thing for a lot of different players. Maybe they're like, okay, these guys had the good camp. Maybe some other players need some more seasoning in the minors. Doesn't really work out to start. And then it's like, okay, well, we were playing this player here. Maybe, we thought Tommy Novak was a third line guy. Maybe we need to move him up front. Or, we had Juuso Parssinen playing here. Maybe he's better as a center down the middle. Right. There's going to be kind of a lot of a mixing and matching. And because of that, I don't think Andrew Brunette is going to be too into the results in the first month as much as he is, okay, where does everybody play? Who has the best chemistry with each other? Do these people fit better here or here in the lineup? Right. They're going to get a chance, I think, to really try a few different things, a few different strategies, a few different places. And so because of that, yeah, maybe the Nashville Predators are, kind of hot and cold to start.
Yeah. And I think Preds fans are going to have a little bit of patience, because I know that, roster changes and lineup switches, has been kind of a frustrating thing. But I think with a new head coach, when you're kind of in a new chapter, I think that's going to probably, like you said, that's going to probably be the norm. I wish that the Predators had a little bit easier schedule coming out of the gate in October. They really are facing a lot of really good teams that are committed to making deep playoff runs. But let's see what they can do. I think training camp is going to be so important, not just for performances individually, not for lineup decisions, but I think for the vibe. If this group can come in and kind of get that Ryan O'Reilly, why can't we contend vibe, and get some confidence and find the joy in this reset, I think they could be a heck of a lot of fun coming out of the gate. But there are so many logistical factors they're going to have to work through. So we may have to have some grace. I am not as optimistic. I'm not as optimistic about 6 wins. I would really like to see the Predators come out with like 4. I would be delighted.
4 out of 9?
4 out of 9.
I'm more optimistic than you, apparently, on this one, which is very rare.
It is very rare. I'm usually the Ted Lasso of hockey, but here I am, a little Roy Kenting.
Yeah. Inverting the pyramid of optimism.
There you go.
I would say. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know on our YouTube page. Drop a comment or tweet us at LO_Predators. X us, whatever that's called now. And where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on Twitter. Saying X just makes me feel a little uncomfortable. At ANK_Mama on Ice.
In this case, X does not give it to you. That was a lame joke. Yeah. Anyway, follow me on _NS Morgan or read my work at penaltyboxradio.com. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow.